No one held a gun to your head to make you sign that loan agreement. But there is a colder truth: without debt, you don't have enough space to exist in this society. Episode 1. I never thought I would get used to debt. But one day, debt became normal. Borrowing to buy a house. Borrowing to buy a car. Borrowing for the children's education. Borrowing to keep up a life that looks okay. Not luxury. Not wasteful. Just keeping up with the minimum standard of living. The bank doesn't lie to you. They just speak very softly. The initial interest rate is low. The loan term is long. Every month still looks under control. But what they don't say clearly is that a human life doesn't stand still for 20 to 30 years. Income can decrease. Health can fail. Crisis can strike at any moment. And the debt doesn't care whether you are tired or healthy. I realized personal debt is not a personal mistake. It is the consequence of a society that pushes the cost of living far beyond the average income. And so, we step into life with a very long commitment, when we haven't even had time to stabilize ourselves. I used to believe, keep working more, getting better, and there will be more money. Now I'm not so sure. Money no longer flows according to sweat. It flows according to speed, algorithms, access rights. There are people who do nothing. They just own the system. Money comes to them automatically. There are people who work like slaves, but have their price squeezed every hour. Because there's cheaper AI out there. Money isn't bad, but it has changed hands. And when money is no longer tied to effort, people begin to doubt their own value. I find myself trying harder, but my heart is empty. Interest rates aren't noisy. They just steadily take away your freedom every month. Episode 2. I used to think interest rates were just numbers on a contract. Later I understood, they are the heartbeat of life. Just a small increase, and everything changes. The monthly payment gets heavier. The surplus gets smaller. The ability to take risks disappears. You start to not dare to quit your job. Not dare to change direction. Not dare to get sick. Not because you were a coward, but because every wrong decision comes with a very high price. The bank is still safe. They have calculated enough scenarios. The one who has to be flexible is you. I see many people no longer living according to their wishes. They live according to the debt repayment schedule. Which day to pay? How much to pay? How much is left to breathe? Interest rates don't make you poor immediately. They just make you never light enough to step in a different direction. The bank doesn't force anyone to borrow, but they know how to make you afraid of being left behind. House, car, tuition fees, a stable life. You sign because you believe you will be able to pay. But the world changes faster than a contract. For those who don't sign for debt, the system has no sympathy. One day, you are still alive, but the future has been mortgaged. Not because you are wrong, but because the rules of the game changed too fast. I look at the repayment schedule. Each number seems to be asking, 5 years from now, will you still be here? The most terrifying prison is the prison you voluntarily walk into, because you want a normal life. Episode 3. No one ties your hands. No one locks the door. You still go to work. Still smile. Still live like everyone else. But inside, every choice is limited. You cannot take risks. Start over. Truly rest. Because behind you is an obligation longer than the youth you have left. Personal debt doesn't take money first. It takes away your flexible future. You didn't fail. You just no longer have the right to be wrong. And in a society where jobs are more precarious, AI replaces people faster, the economy is more volatile, then not being allowed to be wrong is a very dangerous state. Not for the bank, but for the human being. Parents teach children, study well, work hard, be obedient. But society rewards fast, flexible, knowing how to bend the rules. This gap makes families silent. Parents are not wrong. Children are not betraying them. It's just that old life experience is no longer enough to protect young people. The meal is still full of people, but no one is sure where they are leading each other. I see fear in the eyes of the adults, and a loss of direction in the eyes of the young. There is a very tiring way of existing, not starving to death, but no longer living deeply. Episode 4. You pay your debts on time. You fulfill your responsibilities. You don't bother anyone, but as each day passes, You feel yourself draining away. You don't dare to dream. You don't dare to plan far ahead. You don't dare to make mistakes. You live in a state of, as long as nothing else goes wrong. That is not living. That is prolonged endurance. The bank calls it being a good customer. Society calls it being responsible. Only you know exactly where you are exhausted. And the most dangerous thing is, when too many people live like this. Society looks fine on the outside, but it is hollow inside. Schools still teach the same old things. The world doesn't wait. You study for 4 years for a profession that might disappear in 2. No one told you this when you enrolled. Education isn't lying to anyone. It's just slow. And the price of that slowness is an entire generation stepping into the world with outdated baggage. I don't blame the teachers. I just feel for the learners. Because they believe, and that belief hasn't been updated. A society does not collapse because of a lack of money, but because no one trusts anyone anymore. And when trust disappears, everything that remains is just temporary. Episode 5. I sit in front of the screen. The numbers in the account are still there, but the feeling is different. It's not a fear of poverty. It's no longer being sure that I will still have value tomorrow. In the past, people believed in craftsmanship. Work for 10 or 20 years, and you have a place. Not anymore. AI doesn't get tired. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't need insurance. It doesn't grow old. It doesn't get sad. It doesn't take your job. It makes humans redundant. I see people who are very talented, very hardworking, very kind, yet they are still kicked out of the game. Just because they were slower than one update. The bank still lends. Contracts are still signed, but social trust is cracked. You borrow money for a future where even you don't know where you will stand. The danger is not losing a job. It is losing a role. When humans are no longer necessary, money turns cold, laws become mechanical, and human hearts shrink. I sit there, looking at the bright screen, but inside my chest, it is dark. No one tells you this, because it makes people panic. But I think, we are living in a time where human value is no longer a default. You have to keep it yourself. Otherwise, you will be replaced very quietly. If you don't maintain your value as a human, no one, and no system, will maintain it for you.